Elon wants to give full transparency about what's going on in the government by putting the U.S. Treasury on the blockchain. While he's at it, he needs to go ahead and do the same with my HOA. I think they might be laundering money.
He can't say that.
Sir, you can't
Is he
say that.
allowed to say
I'll
that?
say it louder.
For the most part, I don't like Elon Musk sitting in a chair, and he seems to be the acting president, and I'm not a fan of that too much. But one of the things that he's introducing, that he's trying to do, that I do like, is putting the U.S. Treasury on the blockchain. I have a very limited knowledge of crypto and the blockchain and a lot of these things, but I have read on it before. It's been years, but I'm going to explain it to the best of my ability, to the best of my understanding, so we can all be on the same page. So the blockchain is a public ledger on the internet, so you can see all the transactions that are happening in real time. So let's say I transfer money to somebody, you can see exactly how much I transferred, who transferred it, and who it went to. So there's no obscurity, there's no hiding anything that goes on the blockchain. And this is how cyber criminals get tracked, right? If you're into that sort of stuff like I am. I watch a lot of stuff about hacking. Elon Musk is proposing to implement that system with the U.S. Treasury. This post over on X is from Cointelegraph. It says, Elon Musk proposes putting the U.S. Treasury on blockchain for full spending transparency. Citizens could track taxpayer dollars in real time. Of course, it's going to be a big ordeal. There's a lot of transactions. There's a lot of money that changes hands with the government. Trillions of dollars every year exchanges hands between the government and whoever that funding is going to. We're already seeing with USAID, that program is being exposed. They're showing all of the places where the funding is going. Some of those things I agree with, some of the things I don't. We're not going to get into whether it's right or wrong. We're talking about transparency in this episode, in this conversation. I think it would be worthwhile to open up the floodgates to see where our tax dollars are going, because there's no reason. We spend about $900 billion, almost $1 trillion just in the DOD. Where the hell is all of this money going? Part of it is still over in Iraq and Afghanistan when we left all of those weapons and vehicles over there that Trump was asking ISIS to return. They said they're not returning shit. So we know that there's a huge issue with the transparency of our tax dollars. And a lot of people would like to know the money that they're paying into the system that they work hard for. They like to know where it's going. Like Californians, for example, they pay about 50% in taxes. You don't think that citizens want to know where 50% of their paycheck is going? So while it's going to be a huge ordeal, and I don't agree with Elon Musk being like a figurehead for the president, it seems like he's having his way with the government, even though he's not an elected official. I don't like it. But I do think that even a broken clock is right twice a day. And he did his big one on this one, for sure. He definitely proposed something that I think a lot of the citizens in the U.S. will be in favor of. I'd like to see a poll on it. But the best we could do for now is looking at the comment section. Pamela says, I was sitting at work thinking about how our government wants to surveil us constantly, but they're the ones committing enormous acts of fraud, so they should be the ones constantly surveilled. Elon Musk and POTUS, maybe we should come up with a plan to surveil federal workers and government employees to make sure they're doing the jobs that they were hired to do, and a plan to hold them accountable in the future when it comes to handing out our money. Pamela's got a point. There's nowhere that you can really go and hide as a private citizen from the government, but we have no transparency into what the government is doing. Back in the day, did you know that you could actually go and sit in the Capitol and watch as they were trying to pass bills? I learned that when I was in the Army. We did some missions over at the Capitol. But you could go and sit in, I forgot what it's called, but in the hall and watch as a private citizen up on the balcony and see as Congress was arguing bills and what bills were going to get passed. But they've eliminated all of that sort of transparency that we used to have with our elected officials, and they kind of obscured it. Us as private citizens, we don't have that same obscurity. Anything that goes on with us, they're privy to. There was this guy I was going to do a story on. He was a streamer. He had $500,000 of his money taken out of his bank by the IRS. But we just talked about with 6ix9ine that you have to pay your taxes. I absolutely believe everybody in America has to pay their fair share. I don't agree that the IRS should be able to go into your bank and withdraw money, even if you owe them. You're supposed to have a private connection between you and your financial services. Nobody should be privy to that, but the IRS is. So we need to open up some transparency like Elon is proposing and like Pamela said, and give us some insight into what's going on with our money that we're giving to the government. This is not the government's money. This is our money. I don't know what it takes to put it on the blockchain, put these transactions on the blockchain, but it's a interesting idea. Wannabe Farmer says every government in the world should do so for all government spending. Government should be transparent, and it also reduces the corruption as the payments are made public and in real time. Everyone can easily see it. Very good idea, Elon. Once again, I just did a story on Bob Menendez. He was a senator who was taking bribes. This dude, over the course of his career, he only took $600,000 in bribes, which is a small amount for treason, right? You're selling secrets to foreign governments. You would think that you would want more than $600,000, but he's going to jail where he deserves to be. Bob Menendez wouldn't have had the opportunity to do all of this corruption if the blockchain was used in terms of the decision making and the money spending and all of this stuff. Of course, with his case, people are depositing money into his private account. So we're not going to see that, and we shouldn't see that. That's not our business. But the decisions that our public officials are making, they should be transparent to everybody that they're going to affect. Of course, a lot of times they make more money than us. They're not going to live in our neighborhoods. They're not going to be subjected to the problems that we have based on the decisions that they make. But we should be able to see it, and we should be able to get some sort of justification in real time for why these things are happening, because they affect all of us. They affect us when our money disappears. They affect us when they make a decision that they don't have to suffer the repercussions of. I'm with pulling down the veil and giving some transparency to what's going on in our government. This is going to be the last one. Shoestring Lab says, yes, this is what blockchain was meant for. Make it public. Don't let bureaucrats get away with spending $10 million on staplers on September 29th so they beat the end of the fiscal year. I'm going to tell you right up front, this absolutely happens. So the way that the government works, you get funding, right? And I know this just a little bit. I'm not an expert on this by any means because I don't work in supply. I didn't handle the money. I didn't work in like the J4, which is the logistics area, which handles the money. When you get government funding, they give you a certain budget. If you don't use that budget, they say, hey, next year you don't need as much money because you're not spending all the money that we gave you. We're going to take it back and we're going to allot it to some other program. What we try to do is make sure that that money is being spent, not frivolously. We're not just buying bullshit, but we're making sure soldiers have uniforms or making sure that we restock on certain things that weren't a priority earlier in the year because we wanted to make sure that we had money for the essentials. Now we're buying all of the extras. For this one thing, I can say that I agree with Elon. He's on the right track here. For all the stuff that he does that I don't like, this is a tick he can put in a win column, at least in my book. I'd like to see it, and I hope it happens as soon as possible, maybe this upcoming fiscal year. If you like the video, like the video. Subscribe to me back here for the next conversation. And if you have thoughts on adding any of this stuff to the blockchain, whether it's just the money or the decision-making process, let the world know. This is the place for discourse. Till next time. Peace.